Hey, what's up, everybody? Hey, MP here. Wanted to show you how to make your first, or just a simple custom directive within Angular. Um, Angular is really cool because it gives you the ability to create some reusable components throughout your application really easily. So let's take this example here. It's called a large card block quote. So it's pretty straightforward. There's some classes that you need to add to it, and then there's a body tag, and inside of that is an actual block quote with a specific class on it, and within that is the text of the block quote. So it's pretty straightforward. But if we're going to be using this throughout our app, wouldn't it be easier if we could just put this markup in a template and have the block quotes throughout our app use that template? That way, if we ever need to go back and alter the markup, we can do that easily in one place and it would populate everywhere. Well, Angular allows us to do that by creating custom directives. So how this is going to look in the end is, instead of copying and pasting this whole code, we should be able to easily say large card block quote, and within that tag we should be able to put our custom quote text in there. All right, so that's what it should look like whenever we're all done. All right, let's get started here. So I have a really simple app in my scripts.js file. So as you can see, here's my Angular application with my routes and my main controllers, and then I have some directives that I've already set here. So let's add a new directive. This directive is going to be called large card block quote. All right. Even though that's going to be separated by dashes whenever we set it in our HTML, we're going to make it camel cased here whenever we name it. And let's call a function. And this function is going to return an object of settings. So the first setting is going to be the restrict property. We're going to say that we're going to restrict this to the element level. Now, there's a couple different options. I'm not going to get into it here, but you can do things where you can have it as being an element, or if you want to specify this as an attribute to put on any element, any HTML element, you can do that. Again, I'm not going to go into it, but let's just set it for E for element right now. The next thing that we're going to do is specify what template to use. So we can either specify the template right here, just start typing it out, or better yet, what we can do is say get a template from a URL. So this template URL is going to live at templates and large card block quote .html. All right. So it's going to complain to us if that template's not there. So let's go ahead and create it. Templates large card block quote .html. And let's go ahead and move this markup into that template. Let's go ahead and copy, and we'll leave it for there. So let's just copy and paste it. All right, so there's our template. So this should actually be working right now. Let's see if this works. So we should be able to just say large card block quote. And it should pop in there. Great. So if we get rid of it, it disappears. We could put as many as we want in here, and they should all line up. Perfect. So now we've just created a reusable component. So the next thing that we need to do is figure out how to get our custom quotes in there. So we want to get rid of this static text and replace it with some dynamic text. Well, there's a few different options that we can do. Probably the most popular that people use is to create these scoped variables. for our templates. So what that would look like is, let's say that we wanted to create a variable for this directive called the quote. So this would be something that whenever you instantiate this large card block quote element in your HTML, you would have to include what the quote's going to be in one of its attributes. So let's set up that variable. So inside of our quote object, or I'm sorry, inside of our scope object, where you're going to say there's going to be a quote, and that quote is just going to be a string. So again, I'm not going to get into this, but there's a few different options you can use to instantiate this. We're just going to use the @ symbol, which basically means in your HTML, the user is going to give you a string of text. Just pass that along in the quote variable to your template. So in our template, now that we've set up that scope variable, we could replace this with quote. So in Angular, to print out a variable from your directive or controller, you do double brackets and the name of the variable. All right, let's see if that worked. So now we should have access to this quote attribute. This is my new quote. Save that, and bam. Cool, it's working. So that's one option, and that's a really popular way of doing it. For this specific option, since our custom directive is it only takes one input here, which is the quote, and sometimes it's going to be a long string where we wouldn't want to put it into this attribute. It would be a lot easier if we could just include it between the tags. So this is my new quote. That way, if we have just a ton of different text in there that we wouldn't want to put into an attribute, it'd be easy to specify there. So how do we get this text into here without passing it through a variable? Well, Angular lets us have access to this cool thing called the transclude option. So if we say transclude is true, what that allows us to do is say whatever is between this custom tag, print it using ng-transclude in our template. So in our template, we're going to get rid of that quote variable, and we're going to say ng-transclude. And whenever we do that, it passes it right through. So that's a really good option for reusability there. Well, cool. So that is how easy it is to create your first little directive there. So hope you like it. I'll probably be putting out some more Angular videos pretty soon. So see you guys.